Hello again, this is Mchael Wojcik with your City Council update for August 16th, 2010. A few different things I'm going to touch on here, mostly leaning towards financial items for this particular update. First thing, as you know, we're building a new public works garage. Some of the things that were determined on this public works garage were set in motion long before I was on the City Council, one of which is, we had sold the land out from underneath the old public works garage, so we absolutely had no choice but to have a public works garage, and the decision had also been made not to partner with the county at the time that I came in, so a little bit of that is things that predate me. But we did issue the bonds. We're going to be issuing the bonds for that, the amount of $26,700,000, which are going to pay back over 20 years. What does this mean to you? Well, what this means is on top of our current existing budget for 2010, in 2011 we're going to start out with about the budget of the city will increase 2% just in debt service, and the following year will increase 2% more, and that amount will be carried forward on into the future. So what we already know is a very difficult budget year in 2011 is made more complicated by the fact that this debt service is coming online, but this was something that at this point was not optional, and I've been very critical in my analysis of the public works garage, ensuring that all things, the way that we're building this building, if we're going to build a big expensive building, we're going to do it right, and we're going to make sure that all the decisions we make will minimize the total cost of this building over time, not just the cheapest upfront price. And I'm pretty proud of city staff and the great work that Public Works did, and also some of our workers out there building that garage, just a phenomenal job that they're doing. And this is going to be something that is an expensive asset being built at a difficult time, but the reality is that we got a great price because we are building it at this time, and we're building it right, and this is going to be the last public works garage that any of us ever see built by the city of Rochester in our lifetimes, because we're doing it correctly. It is built for some expanded capacity in the future as well. Also, we have a new establishment coming to downtown. There's going to be a pool and darts hall. It was described as upscale, which somebody kind of joked to me, every business that goes, every bar that goes in downtown describes themselves as being upscale, but I think this is going to be a real nice place. I'm happy to see that we got some more stuff going into City Center out there. I remain vehemently opposed to the Skyway to Nowhere connecting that building, but that said, I still like to see businesses in the downtown core. We also had the attempted veto override of the mayor's veto of the panhandlers ordinance, and not only did we not override the veto, there was more people speaking out against the proposed ordinance than ever. And what it comes down to is that we have a nuisance with what's going on, but what we need to focus on the laws that are already in place that we can enforce, and that means when people are obstructing intersections, we need to take action. We need to move people from places where they are being unsafe. It is a constitutional right, and the Supreme Court has upheld it as a constitutional right. So, in terms of just banning panhandling, that's not going to happen unless we change the Constitution of the United States of America, and I don't see that happening anytime particularly soon. So it's something that we do have to deal with. But most of the frustration comes from people being in places where they shouldn't be panhandling in the first place, like at dangerous intersections, and we can crack down on that without this particular ordinance. There were a lot of downsides of this ordinance. The police officers that I spoke to hated this with a passion. They thought it was a complete waste of resource, and I tended to agree with them on that. So not only did the veto override fail, but we actually had 4 people voting against the ordinance, which means that it wouldn't have even passed in the first place. Maybe one other additional comment about something that happened at the meeting. I really messed up the meeting this time. I mean, it was I had a pretty principled stance, I think, in terms of if we're going to be doing street trees, we need to do them right. We need to have the right boulevard widths, and our city forester. We granted him the power to take a look and make sure that the trees were planted correctly at this Cascade Creek development, and that was a condition of approval, and staff never followed up. They never clearly communicated that the city forester had approved it, and we got into a big mess. We ended up rescinding the initial condition because when I first brought this up, I was under the impression that this was not going to significantly delay an otherwise wonderful project. I later found out in the meeting that in fact that was not the case, so I had to backtrack, and basically I created a big mess at the meeting. So I still strongly agree with the principled stand that I took, but there's probably a different time to be taking that particular stand. Net of it is Cascade Creek is coming forward. It's going to be a wonderful addition to the community. All of the tough criteria that I applied to Mr. Weiss's tax increment financing proposal for Washington Village 2, I applied that very same criteria to this particular project, and whereas Mr. Weiss did not pass some of the criteria, this project passed with flying colors. The interesting thing is now in the future, when a developer comes and they tell us that they can't meet the high standards that I've indicated that I want for support for special favors from the city, like TIF districts or variances, no longer will the excuse be valid that we cannot meet high quality standards, because we now have proof that these high quality standards can be met. And any council member that thinks that we should lower the standards of the city in the future is dead wrong. Two other additional items. I was very pleased last Thursday evening to be present at the ribbon cutting for the Ariana Celeste McNamara Memorial Bridge. We now have a little memorial plate out there, and the bridge is named in her honor, and it's open for the public. It's a wonderful addition to the community. It's something that makes getting around Rochester as a pedestrian or as a cyclist so much safer. It's an expensive bridge. It's a good connection for our community. I think it's a very worthwhile investment, and one of the interesting things brought up by our planning staff is that in terms of how much it costs to have a parking place downtown, which is about $22,000 to build a new parking place downtown. Given the number of people that this bridge is going to give safe access to downtown, and assuming that we can achieve the same kind of ridership numbers that other cities like Minneapolis and Portland have in terms of increased bicycle commuters, while this bridge may have cost some money, it actually is a net savings in terms of what we expect for increased bicycle commuters. So that's just wonderful. Not to mention, it's just a wonderful park out there. I hope you all have a chance to get out there and explore the Cascade Park area. It's just going to be a phenomenal asset for the community. That is largely what I have to say for this particular week. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me. I would also encourage you to go out and take a look at the downtown Rochester master plan, which was the final version was released. My initial response was, this is a phenomenal plan. It's gonna break my heart even more when we ignore this plan, like we do every other plan that we've ever come up with. I am a little bit concerned. I brought it up at the time that even though we are having paid lobbyists sitting on the downtown steering committee, we never had a single neighborhood person on there, and that's I thought was a complete failure of the leadership of the city when that came up. And I think that one place where the plan is particularly weak is that how it addresses transitions to the surrounding neighborhoods, which are hugely important to the city. And I think it would have been well served by having a neighborhood person on there, but that was not what the city council wanted. The city council felt that it was not worthwhile to put a neighborhood person on there, so that was the result of that. But I am interested in your feedback. It's about 150 pages long, but I do encourage you to sit down and take a look at it. And I am collecting the best responses, and I will be putting them out on my website, votewojak.org. Some of my favorite responses to the plan. So I have a wonderful week, and I will be back with my next city council update shortly.